Hello, I'm Jerry Bennett. Over the years, I've had the privilege of talking with many of you about segmented turning. Nothing gives me more pleasure than to go into the studio and make a segmented vessel or a fun art piece. Cutting segments can really be a pain, but it doesn't have to be. In what I call segmentology, we're going to take a look at what it takes to make great segments. Our goal should be to get consistent results from one session to the next. We should have enough confidence in the process to where we don't have to do test rings or test cuts, that sort of thing. We're going to take a look at the conventional sled that we've been using for many years. We're also going to look at the Wedgie sled, which uses two fences. They use different paradigms. This one is twice as accurate as this one, but we're going to get great results from both. It's important we understand the relationship between the track and the blade. The track is in charge of all things angular. The blade cuts whatever is presented to it without mercy. The blade seldom is in total alignment with the track. This particular saw, the blade is canted just a little bit one way. And if I aligned a fence or a sled based on the blade, we couldn't get consistent results. So always keep in mind that the track is in charge. The track runner is the key to having accurate segments. Its design should be such that it runs smoothly against the saw side of the track with no adjustment screws. If there were adjustments on this side, then any adjustment would alter the relationship between the blade and the sled, so we don't want that. So all the adjustments should be on the outside here. This little track runner fits the bill just fine. It will rub on the inside of the track and then with the adjustment on the outside. And I'll add that to our sled. I have installed a track runner and I have put the adjustment on the outside like we discussed. And it also overlaps the blade about 1/8 of an inch or so, so we can trim it, and when we do, then this cut will be perfectly parallel to our reference track. Before we trim the sled, what we need to do is to make sure there's not any movement, and there is a little movement here, so I'm going to adjust the track. Okay, that takes it out there. Okay, we don't have any movement there. Okay, now it's tight in the track, so we can go ahead and trim the sled. Okay, now then, before we go any further, we need to put in a zero clearance grip. Like so. Okay, we've completed half of the chore. We have an accurate line here to set the fence by, but what we need now is an accurate reference for the segment. Now, what I want to do is make a 16 segment ring, which means I need an accurate reference for 78 3/4 degrees. And no one makes a 78 3/4 degree triangle. So we decided to make them ourselves, and you can get these from Seg Easy. And what you do is line the base of the triangle to the sled and the side of the triangle to the fence. Now, I use a block here to kind of help keep everything together, and you watch and make sure that everything fits tight, like so, and then sock it down and double check to make sure everything looks very tight. That's what we want right there. This sled should be perfect. Well, I think you'd have to agree this little sled has been very simple to make and very straightforward. So we're going to see if it works. What I always do is on the strip that I'm going to use. I always mark the top and I mark an edge. That way I can put the segments where I want them and know where they go. We add a saw stop like so, and we're ready to go. Okay, we've cut our 16 segments. Now I'm going to clean them up and I'll be right back. Okay, we have them all cleaned up, so let's put them together and see what we have. When we assemble the ring, we make sure that the marked side is up on all the segments. You can tell the difference by the line on the edge. One is inside the ring and the other outside. By alternating these, we can zero out any errors in the verticality of the blade. We'll put a rubber band around them. Looks pretty good. This is really pretty cool, isn't it? It would be just as easy to put a triangle in there for a 24 ring or a 12 or whatever. 36, how about a 48? Next we're going to take a look at the wedgie sled, which has two fences. The wedgie sled is my go-to sled for cutting segments. I've already added the track, but the advantage of the wedgie sled is we don't really have to worry about the accuracy of this edge, even though it's going to be accurate. It's not a factor with this particular method. It's ready to cut, so let's go ahead and trim it. As before, we're going to use a zero clearance strip. So we'll set that up. And we have a trusty saw stop. We're ready to go. Just as with the conventional sled, we're going to make a 16 segment ring using the wedgie. However, with this particular sled, you use it in a little bit different way, and I'll show you. As you can see, this sled has two fences. And what we do is we merely take the triangle, or what I call a wedgie, and put it between the fences and adjust the fences to where they're snug. Now, I told you that we didn't have to worry about this edge because we're not making any measurements relative to this edge. All of the measurements are between these two fences. So actually, you can move the fences over like this and whatever, and as long as you maintain this relationship, your segments will always be true. So what I normally do is I'll lock one down first like that, and then I'll adjust the second one to where it is snug, like that, and then I'll test it to make sure, and that is it's snug both ways. So this sled is ready to make perfect segments. Okay, we're going to mark the strip just like we did before, and I'd like for you to pay close attention as I cut these, because we do not flip the strip like you do on the conventional sled. We go from one fence to the other. So let's move this over and take a look and see what we have here. Now, as on the other one, I'm going to alternate them. If you'll notice, these also, one is marked on the outside and one is marked on the inside, and we're going to alternate them when we put them in the ring. Okay. We'll put a rubber band around it. And kind of line them up a little bit. Well, I don't think you can get it any better than that. The ring we just made is with the fences symmetrical to the sled. But something interesting happens when we skew them a little bit off center. If you move the fences at an odd location like this, you still maintain the segment angle, but what happens is you end up with a segment that looks like this. And the result of that, when you put it together, is the outside edges of the segments want to line up with each other, which causes the segment to skew a little bit internally, and it looks like it has a spiral pattern. This is one of the many things that you're in control of when you use a wedgie sled. If you want to keep your segments straight, just keep the fences symmetrical. If you want to play around with the angles a little bit, then move them around. That went so well, let's do a 24. Okay, we're going to set up the sled just like we did before, except we're going to use a 24 wedgie. Okay, like before, I'm going to mark the strip, and let's get started. Okay. Looks pretty good. It's got to be obvious to you by now that making great segments is not a big deal. In the next video, Beyond Basics, we're going to make things a lot more interesting than this.